Antarctica is a majestic and mysterious continent covered with eternal ice and snow. This edge of the world, which rises above sea level at more than 2,000 meters, holds many secrets and continues to be one of the most inaccessible and unexplored parts of our planet. Why can't ordinary people just visit Antarctica? What tragedies and incredible events took place on this icy continent? It should be said at once that complete and reliable information about the number of dead and missing in Antarctica is absent, which raises a large number of questions and increases the mysteries. Let's get down to the facts. 1929. On December 26, the crew of Moth N42 became the first airplane to die in a plane crash in Antarctica. Both crew members, Leif Lear, pilot, and Ingvald Schreiner, passenger observer and ship's doctor, were killed. The cause of the crash was presumed, but never confirmed, to have been structural failure of the glider in flight. Despite search and rescue operations, no trace of the airplane or crew was found. On the day of his disappearance, Mr. Lear took off at 6 o'clock in the evening with the summer sun high and a clear sky. He had 5 or 6 hours fuel with him. His orders were to survey the ice edge west of their ship Cosmos. Unfortunately, despite all these details, no definitive account of what happened to them has ever been found. The incident remains one of the unsolved mysteries. 1958, February 26th. Sikorski S55 crashed in the sea. Of the 7 people killed, 3. The helicopter was military, but what happened and the causes of the crash information is not available. Moreover, there is no official confirmation from Argentina about this accident. The same year, October 16th, Douglas C124C Globemaster II crashed into a 3,200-foot mountain near Cape Hallett Bay. Navigational errors were made during the flight. No further information is available. It is known that 7 of the 13 crew members died. 1960. On August 3rd, 1960, in the vicinity of Mirny Station, a strong hurricane began. The wind speed reached 58 meters per second. During the hurricane, for an unknown reason, a fire broke out in the house of the aerometeorological team. It could not be extinguished. 8 polar explorers died in the fire. More detailed information is classified. 1966. On February 2nd, Douglas LC-47J 50832, an airplane equipped with skis, departed McMurdo on a routine mission to Bird Station to pick up a science team. The airplane was accompanied by an LC-117, 99853. The LC-117 made a safe landing in extremely limited visibility, but both engines of 50832 stalled for unknown reasons while about 200 feet above the ice surface. The airplane struck the ice almost upside down, breaking the fuselage in 2 places. A fire broke out, igniting the 18 JATO cylinders on board. None of the 6 crew members and passengers survived. 1976, September 15th. Lockheed SP-2E Neptune disappeared. The last radio contact was 12:15. Found crashed into Monte Barnard 8 days later. Extensive search operations began after the crash, but finding the wreckage and bodies was extremely difficult due to the harsh conditions. The search area was hampered by poor visibility, deep snow, and ice. Despite the efforts of the search teams, all 11 people on board died. Many details of the accident remained unclear. Found wreckage and other evidence were limited, and many aspects of the accident remained a mystery. 1979. The DC-10 was a 3-engine wide-body passenger jet designed by McDonnell Douglas, was popular for long-haul flights due to its capacity and range, and crashed on November 28, 1979. The plane was owned by Air New Zealand on a special tourist flight bound for Antarctica to allow passengers to see the continent's unique scenery. It crashed into the Erebus volcano, killing all 257 people. The plane collided with the southern slope of the Erebus volcano at an altitude of about 3,800 meters. The main cause of the crash is said to have been a navigational error due to improperly adjusted navigation equipment and a lack of attention to the actual position of the plane. The airplane deviated from its planned route and, instead of following a safe path, entered the Erebus volcano area. How an airplane with poorly tuned navigation equipment could have flown toward Antarctica is a question that has no answer at all. 1985, December 31st. Cessna 404 Titan lost altitude and struck a glacier shortly before landing at Teniente Marsh AFB. Despite the efforts of search teams, all 10 people on board died, and many details of the accident remained unclear. Found wreckage and other evidence were limited, and many aspects of the accident remained a mystery. The flight was unscheduled. Reasons for the flight are not known. 1986. Ilushin IL4T got into an unpredictable hurricane headwind with a speed of up to 140 km/h, about 40 mi/h, which resulted in a significant drop in travel speed over the Philippi Glacier. It is also known that when there were still more than 200 kilometers to Mirny Station, the airliner got into the conditions of the so-called white haze, very dense fog, because of which visibility dropped to almost zero and severe icing began. In this situation, the crew was forced to start descending, and when it became obvious that there was not enough fuel for the flight to Mirny, it was decided to make an emergency landing. At 0710, more than 10 hours after the IL-14 departed from Molodezhnaya Station, communication with the airliner stopped. After several days of air search, the wreckage of IL-14 was found 240 kilometers from Mirny Station. None of the 6 people on board survived. 1989, January 26th. Avia 14. The Avia 14 was being refueled when a fire erupted. The aircraft was consumed by fire. The causes of the crash are not known. The information seems to be classified. 2010, 28th October. Eurocopter AS 350 B3. Écureuil, a French helicopter, has crashed in Antarctica during rough weather conditions. The helicopter was flying on behalf of the French Polar Institute, IPEV, and operated in Antarctica from the French research vessel L'Astrolabe, which is currently icebound about 230 miles, 370 kilometers, northeast of the Dumont d'Urville station. On 28 October 2010, the pilots of 2 helicopters operated by SAF Helicopteres were flying passengers and equipment from the Astrolabe ship to the Dumont d'Urville base in Adélie-Land, Terre Adélie. These flights were undertaken following damage to the ship's propeller, which caused the ship to halt its progress towards Dumont d'Urville. When the decision was made to undertake the flights, the meteorological conditions at the ship and at the base 207 nm away were good. The flying autonomy and performance of the helicopters were compatible with the flights planned. The pilot of the 2 helicopters took off about 20 minutes apart. The pilot of the first helicopter encountered poor weather conditions when on a cruise, which led him to decide to continue the flight at a low altitude, sometimes below 200 AV5, to remain under the cloud layer. The pilot of the second helicopter, registered FGJFJ, initially decided to fly above this cloud layer, but then decided to turn around and also fly below the cloud layer. The pilot made 2 360-degree turns at low speed and at a low height once below the cloud layer. The helicopter collided with the surface of the pack ice. The last flight path data points recorded indicated a height of about 30 ft. The investigation showed that the accident was caused by the pilot likely losing all external visual references, following his decision to undertake and continue the flight in unfavorable meteorological conditions, in a hostile environment that offered no or few alternatives to the plan of action. The specific context of the mission, to the oversight authority, were factors contributing to the accident. The pilot, having taken medication with a sedative effect, may have contributed to the accident. All 4 crew members were killed. Through an extremely detailed documented incident, which nevertheless does not give a complete picture of why the disaster happened, with what was associated with 2 360-degree turns. As in other cases, we can only state that something mysterious is happening in Antarctica. The same year, Seoul, Wellington, Reuters. Deck 13, a South Korean fishing vessel weighing 6 M14 tons and 58 meters, 190 feet, long sank in icy waters near Antarctica, killing 5 crew members and leaving 17 missing, authorities in New Zealand and South Korea said. The ship sank at 6:30 a.m., 12:30 p.m. ET, about 1,850 kilometers, 150 miles north of Antarctica, and 2,700 kilometers, 700 miles south of New Zealand, the country's Rescue Coordination Center said. It was not known what caused the vessel to sink, and no distress signal was issued, the center said. According to information from the ship carrying the survivors, the vessel sank quickly and the crew did not have time to put on life jackets or wetsuits, the center said. The search has been scaled back, with 3 South Korean vessels searching for the missing men. 2 New Zealand vessels have called off the search and no plane has been dispatched. Another not fully understood incident that occurred off the coast of Antarctica. 2013, 23 January, de Havilland, Canada. DHC-6 Twin Otter 300, de Havilland, Canada. DHC-6 Twin Otter airplane was destroyed when it crashed into a steep snow and ice-covered mountain slope at 13,000 feet, 3,960 meters, ASL in the Queen Alexandra Range in Antarctica. All 3 crew members were killed. The airplane operated on a VFR repositioning flight from Amundsen Scott Station to the Zucchelli Station at Terra Nova Bay, Antarctica. There was a solid cloud cover in the area, and the crew's view of Mount Elizabeth was likely to have been obscured. The crew probably received a terrain warning 45 seconds before impact. A climb was initiated, but the aircraft climb performance was not sufficient to avoid the terrain. Search and rescue workers made visual contact with the plane's crash site late at night on January 25th. Findings as to causes and contributing factors. The crew of CGKBC made a turn prior to reaching the open region of the Ross Shelf. The aircraft might have entered an area covered by a cloud that ultimately led to the aircraft contacting the rising terrain of Mount Elizabeth. Judging from the description, clouds are almost the most frightening phenomenon in Antarctica. However, the development of navigation systems in 2013 and the high-flying skills of pilots who fly over Antarctica raise some doubts when they say that professionals continue to die because of clouds. 2019. On 9 December 2019, a Chilean Air Force Lockheed C130 Hercules military transport aircraft crashed in the Drake Passage while en route to Base Presidente Eduardo Frei Montalva, a Chilean military base on King George Island in Antarctica. His aircraft departed Punta Arenas, Patagonia, Chile, at 1955 UTC, 1655 local time, bound for King George Island, Antarctica. The flight was intended to provide supplies to a base in the Chilean Antarctic territory, and to bring personnel to inspect a floating fuel supply line and other equipment at the base. The Chilean Air Force flies from Punta Arenas to King George Island monthly. Radio contact with the plane was lost at 21:13 UTC. A search was conducted by aircraft from the Chilean Air Force, Argentina, Brazil, the United Kingdom, the United States, and Uruguay. Also, 2 Chilean Navy frigates searched the area where the aircraft was last observed by radar. They were aided by a team of satellite imagery analysts from the Israeli Defense Forces Unit 9900. One day into the search, debris from an aircraft was found floating in the sea, 31 kilometers, 19 miles from the last known position of the missing aircraft. Debris and personal items were recovered by the Brazilian Navy polar research ship Almirante Maximiano. The crash site was located off the coast of South America on 12th of December, 27 kilometers, 17 miles, from the C-130's last known position. The aircraft fuselage and main components were identified along with human remains. Chilean Air Force Chief Arturo Marino confirmed that everyone on board was killed. An accident investigation is being conducted by the Chilean Air Force. As of December 2019, the cause of the crash is unknown, due in part to an insufficient quantity of recovered components. The aircraft experienced a complete breakup, either in flight or after crashing into the sea. Another extremely mysterious event that happened not so long ago, just 5 years ago. An incredibly powerful C-130 Hercules airplane, but even that didn't save 38 people from death. Antarctica clearly doesn't like its guests. Remarkably, even now, despite more than a century of exploration, very little is known about this continent. All available information is strictly edited and sifted. But what is known for sure is that despite the very harsh conditions of this wasteland, attracts increased attention and it constantly operates research stations of different states. The battle for Antarctica is still ahead, and perhaps it will open the veil of mystery of the continent. Anyway, It is quite clear that this continent does not like people and tries in every possible way to get rid of them.